Hello, and thank you for logging on to WMUR.com for the web-only portion of Conversation with the Candidate. Democratic presidential hopeful and New York Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton joins us this evening. Thanks again for being here, Senator.
Thanks again for having me, Scott.
It's nice to have you. The questions for this portion of the conversation will come from emails sent into our newsroom and from our live in-studio audience. We will begin with the audience in just a moment, but first, Senator, I'd just like to get your take on the issue of illegal immigration.
Right.
As we stand here, the Senate is still debating a topic that includes a bill that is sort of being offered as a compromise. It talks about toughening up the borders. It talks about making sure employers follow by the rules with their hiring practices. But it also talks about amnesty and awards a point system, if you will, rewarding those with work skills that might be valuable, number one, and number two, the family ties that may have been developed here in the United States. I'd like to get your take on the debate and whether we're on the right track.
Well, I think we have to have a comprehensive approach, which is pretty much what the bipartisan consensus is. There's a disagreement about the details, but everyone agrees we have to tighten border security. And we're beginning to put the personnel and the technology down on the border that we actually need. We haven't really done it up until now, and we have to get serious about that. And secondly, to really hold employers to some higher level that would require much stiffer sanctions, because people wouldn't come if they didn't think there was work waiting for them. So the employers have to be part of the solution. Thirdly, we're trying to get some help to local communities who bear the burdens of education, health care, law enforcement costs having to do with immigration. And then we're trying to figure out what to do with the 11 or 12 million people who are already here illegally. And I agree with the consensus that we need to get them out of the shadows, deport people who have committed crimes, and give those who are left a chance to earn legalization, which would mean they'd have to pay a rather significant fine, they'd have to pay back taxes, they'd have to try to learn English, they would obviously have to wait in line, and we think it would take 10 to 15 years, during which they would have to remain employed and frankly stay out of trouble and everything else that you would expect people to do who were going to be in our country. So that is the sort of the bulk of the compromise. There's a lot of other issues that have to do with whether we separate families and what kind of guest worker program people have. I'm against that because I think it can lead to more people staying. But we're trying to work out all these differences. The one thing everybody agrees on is we have an intolerable situation now. We have thousands of people every month coming across our borders and coming into our country. And we are not going to go around knocking on every house in New Hampshire trying to find people in order to deport them. That is not going to happen. So what do? Turn a blind eye and just let it continue, and everybody can be upset about it and complain about it, or try to figure out how to prevent it for the future and fix the problem we have now. And I'm on that side of the ledger and trying to figure out what we can do to prevent it and fix it. But we're in the middle of the debate, and we're not quite sure how it's going to come out.
All right, Senator, thank you. Let's get right to the audience questions. Sir, please stand. Give us your name and where you're from.
Senator, my name is Chuck Kuntz. I come from Hopkinton, New Hampshire. I was wondering, do you think that a universal health care plan would help American businesses compete more equally internationally?
Yes, I do. And I can see you're a health care voter. And I thank you for being a health care voter. I hope most Americans are going to be health care voters in 2008. Because one of the issues is the one you put your finger on. This is not only about doing what is right, the fact that we have, over 45 million uninsured people and they die earlier. If even they get into a hospital through the emergency room, they don't get the same care. We have 9 million of them who are children who are uninsured. So I believe it's the right thing to do. It's also the smart thing to do because of all of us who have insurance, we're paying way too much. Our system costs too much. And we need to get the cost down for everybody and the quality up for everybody. And it's competitively necessary because right now American business is competing with two hands tied behind their backs. They compete against companies in countries where everybody shares in the cost of health care. I mean, you could have just knocked me over with a feather when I got a letter one day from the heads of the American automakers in Canada all saying we need a universal health care system because in Canada they pay less than we pay across the border for health care in making cars. So in countries like Canada, Europe, Japan, Australia, everybody pays for health care. Nobody escapes it, so there are no freeloaders in the system. Then